Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 1233.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Linda P. Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Linda P. Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about a global wealth report and why the number of millionaires declined. Well, declined for now, but wait until you hear about the future. So this article originally appeared in Fortune magazine, and it says, we finally have proof of the rich session. Like recession, only rich session. The number of millionaires fell the most since the global financial crisis of 2008, UBS says. It goes on to say, last year marked the first time since the financial crisis of 2008 that global wealth declined year over year, according to UBS's annual Global Wealth Report. Overall, the world lost $11.3 trillion in household wealth, a decline of 2.4%. Of all countries, the U.S. was hit the hardest, with $5.9 trillion in losses, a stark contrast to its $15.9 trillion in gains in 2021. The drop, mostly attributed to unfavorable foreign exchange rates compared to the U.S. dollar, represented the biggest decrease since 2008, when the housing market collapse brought the global economy to its knees. Last year's declines in overall wealth were concentrated among the richest people in the wealthiest countries, the report says. Alongside the U.S., other countries that saw wealth decline were Japan, China, Canada, and Australia, all nations firmly ensconced at the top of the global economy. With one exception, the declines in 2022 were less than the staggering gains from 2021. That exception was Japan, where wealth declined in 2021 as well. The record wealth growth in 2021, fueled in part by vigorous stock markets, resulted in large wealth increases in many markets, the report states. Stock market losses in 2022 often reversed, at least in part, the gains made a year earlier. The fact that 2021's gains and 2022's declines had been so closely linked to the stock market hinted at whose finances may have been more affected: rich people. So I just want to pause there and say that just shows you the importance of the stock market to creating wealth. When we had the devastating bear market last year in 2022, that took away trillions of dollars of wealth worldwide. The article goes on to say the number of millionaires in the world fell by 3.5 million in 2022 to 59.4 million total. About 51% of the people who fell from millionaire status in 2022 were in the U.S., a total of about 1.8 million. However, the U.S. continues to lead the world in the number of millionaires with 22.7 million, accounting for 38.2% of the global total. The geographical distribution of wealth declines in 2022 is heavily skewed toward North America and Europe, largely because they are home to the most millionaires. North America has 42% of the world's millionaires, while Europe has 27%, despite the two regions combining for roughly 10% of the global population. Even high net worth individuals, defined as households with assets over $50 million, weren't spared. Their global numbers declined by 9% to approximately 22,500 total households, with the U.S. again leading with 81% of these declines. The report termed this finding unusual, given that in previous years, North America and the U.S. in particular had seen a historic increase in the number of ultra-high net worth households. In 2021, the number of people at this level rose a staggering 70%. In fact, their waning numbers bucks a long-standing trend in which the number of people with over $50 million in assets quadrupled since the financial crisis. Confirming that those hardest hit were at the top of the financial dog pile was the fact that wealth inequality also fell over the same time. Global median wealth, which UBS refers to as a, quote, more meaningful indicator of how the typical person is faring, unquote, rose 3% in 2022. While the overall gap in wealth inequality may have shrunk, it was only nominally so, as the top 1% still own 44.5% of global wealth. It may not have taken much to reduce wealth inequality on a percent basis, though, considering that during the pandemic, the fortunes of the world's wealthiest people grew like never before. The nonprofit Oxfam estimated that over 24 months from March 2020 to March 2022, the world's wealthiest people made as much money as they had in the previous 23 years. Wow, in 24 months, the wealthiest people made as much from March 2020 to March 2022. We all know what was happening then and how some large institutions received more favor than others. Well, it resulted in the wealthiest people making as much money as they had in the previous 23 years. It goes on to say UBS's top brass mostly blamed inflation for cutting into the pockets of the world's wealthiest people. Much of the decline in wealth in 2022 was driven by high inflation and the appreciation of the U.S. dollar against many other currencies, the report's author, Anthony Shorrocks, said in a statement. Last year, global inflation was just under 9%, according to the International Monetary Fund. Ironically, it may well have been the wealthy's ability to spend despite rising prices that exacerbated the very inflation that now, 18 months later, led to their declining wealth. Now here's the key that I want you to pay attention to. Last year's numbers may be only a blip, however. UBS forecasts that through 2027, the number of millionaires will rise to 86 million, a 44% increase from the latest tally in Tuesday's report. Meanwhile, the number of ultra-high net worth individuals is expected to rise 53% from current levels. You got that? They're projecting a 44% increase in the number of millionaires through 2027, and ultra-high net worth individuals up 53% through 2027 from current levels. So why do you think they're projecting all of this future wealth? Well, there's many reasons why they could be projecting it, but one reason that I've been talking about has been the technological boom that we're seeing, something that I coined the quantum age, which is all the new technology that is coming to market and how new technology creates a lot of new wealth. Whether that's in cryptocurrencies, which I think will create phenomenal wealth in this next bull market, which I believe has already begun, or whether it's AI, which I've talked about being a cross between the dot-com era and Y2K, or other new technologies such as in genomics or in flying cars or electric vehicles, automated cars, robotics. And I could go on and on. But there's so much new technology that we're going to have a huge technological advance in the next several years. In fact, through the end of this decade. And that's where I think a lot of this new wealth is going to come from. In spite of what happened during that rough health time that we had when some people were treated unfairly and the large big box stores were given favor, there's an opportunity for everyone to create wealth going forward. And the estimates that this article makes, I think, will likely turn out to be conservative. They know it and I know it. There's so much more wealth possible and coming this entire decade. And that's what I've been trying to share with you through my books, through my podcasts, through my education, is to let you know this is one of the greatest times to create wealth in generations. Make sure you're making the right moves to position yourself for the right things, especially getting into the right cryptocurrencies while these prices are at 90% discounts. There hasn't been a better time to invest in the ISO 20022 new financial system cryptocurrencies than right now, in my opinion. If you haven't yet subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified as soon as new podcasts are available so you never miss one of them. And all of my podcasts are in my wealth mentoring library on my website at lindapjones.com/podcasts. And while you're there, check out my programs and sign up for my weekly newsletter for more wealth tips. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Linda P. Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.